broker.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Green Effect podcast. And if this is any indication how this podcast is going to go, it's going to be one hell of a show. So we've got I can't remember what episode 16, all right, lucky 16, I guess, season 4. And we have someone I've been really excited to have on because, well, you're going to find out. I'm not even going to pump her tire. She'll do it for herself. So Lacey Morrison, Broker Social Club. Lacey, say hello to everybody.
Oh,
Oh, we didn't, not planned at all. For those of you who are listening and for whatever reason not watching on YouTube, balloons just went up in Lacey's house. That's how magical Lacey is.
that is
Lacey,
just
welcome.
walk around with balloons. Hello, my friend. Hello.
Oh, this is going to be a disaster. Hey, so listen,
Yeah.
tell
Yes, it is.
people. So we met. Let's just back up. So
Mhm.
I met you, and this is how a lot of horror movies start. I met you through Facebook
Yes, you
because
did.
I
Yep.
asked my social media was needed to get some of its shit together, and I put out a message saying, "Hey, does anybody know somebody who can fix this and just get it all together?" And I interviewed some people. You stood above everyone else. So tell
Ah,
people
bless.
what you do, why the hell you do it, and tell us all about it.
I make TikToks. I make TikToks for mortgage brokers. That's what I tell people at parties, and then they look at me like I have two heads, and then I move on from the conversation because it's very hard to pinpoint what it is I do. But in a more, elevator pitch professional sense, I've been working in the industry for only 3, I guess, going into my 4th year. Previous to this, I was a little mommy influencer, as well as a goldsmith. So I had a very Instagrammable career leading up until then. I was actually a florist and a goldsmith for a long time, but that was 10 years ago when every business was only grown on Instagram, and then during COVID, I was like, hey, you know what would be cool? Would be a paycheck. A regular paycheck. This is not a thing that you or I are familiar with. So I got this job in the industry. I had a friend who was a broker. He actually owns a brokerage out here out west. And he said, you want to answer my phones? And I said, that sounds boring. Sure. Turns out I loved it. Turns out I loved every second of it. I realized very quickly mortgages aren't boring, which is now my business's kind of motto, tagline, and started applying
Yeah.
my social media gobbledygook to that brokerage. And it was only 3 months later that I had accidentally started a business. And now I have a club-based model where my goal that gets me out of bed every day is to make this whole social media world less scary for mortgage brokers, and also help people understand that it can be we've had this chat, an incredibly powerful tool. And so when someone comes across my desk like you, who's already out there doing the shit and just needs a little extra guidance to perfect it, obviously I'm going to jump on that, because I work with a lot of newbers, which I love, but sometimes it's fun to just model the clay a little bit. And so yeah, that's what I do. But yeah, I make TikToks for mortgage brokers.
Isn't it funny how you end up in a job or a business that you never intended to end? Like it just happens. Like I
Dude,
went
life
to
is
university
weird.
for a full 3 months, and I was supposed to be a phys ed teacher, and here I am.
You told me that, but I can actually see you being a phys ed teacher. You have full cool phys ed teacher vibes, for sure. I would have not skipped gym to smoke cigarettes as much if you were my gym teacher.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. So, tell me about the social media world right now, not just mortgage brokers, but how do you see it? How do you see it progressing, stuff like that? Like, what has it become?
That is a loaded question, sir. How much time do you have? I What is that? What's talking?
Can you hear my Siri going? My Siri is going.
Yeah.
That's Siri. I said something to Siri, and Siri wants to tell me all about. Apparently, Siri's going to answer the question for you. So, yeah,
I
go ahead.
wish
Now
Siri
it's your
would. I
turn. Go
wish
ahead.
Siri would. I am the wrong person to ask that question to, ironically, because I am always going to be a stan for social media. Because from where I sit, my experience that I've had with social media is has been almost entirely so positive since the beginning. And I've seen firsthand how incredible it can be with growing community. Notice that I say community and not business, because for a long time, and kind of up
Yeah.
until right now, there's been this really skewed uh, people have been seeing social media as a marketing tool, which it absolutely is, right? Like we we spend, collectively in North America billions and billions of dollars on influencer marketing now. The ad budgets, traditional ad budgets are just through the floor, and social media is where it's at. So it is functionally a marketing tool. Obviously, that's why I have a job. But what's happened since COVID, basically, since everybody ended up home and bored, it's really become more than that. And people being like the general using population, the people that are on social media in general, are getting really sick of the bullshit. It's been a marked difference with what people, for a while Instagram had to be this like ultra curated, ultra perfect, everything was an ad, everything was product placement, and you still see a lot of that. But that's why TikTok rose to sort of domination during that time, because it's a lot grittier, a lot messier. We can have a whole different conversation about TikTok if you want to.
Yeah.
But that's
Beast
sort of
altogether.
totally different beast altogether, different podcast. But it rose to popularity because people were sick of the over curated shit, and they just wanted to get to know people, and they wanted to connect because we were stuck at home and we could only connect with our like spouses and our kids, which was rough. And so it became like a place for people to go and build community. And that's what people are going there for now. And that's also a lot of the reason why, I mean, I'm not going to get political or too political here, but that's also a lot of the reason why governmental bodies are a little gun shy about TikTok, because it's kind of the Wild West, insofar as, you can really spread a lot of information, for better or for worse, really fast. You can connect with a huge network of people really fast. And that to me is an incredibly valuable, powerful thing. And I think that, there's a lot of talk about, social media is going to die. Like Gen Z, the usership of Gen Z on social media has plummeted compared to, we have
Really?
this completely, yeah, like there was a recent survey, I believe it was a Columbia, excuse me, School of Communications did a survey with Gen Z, the university kids, and their usership has plummeted like 60% in the last couple of years. And they've cited the fact that
Why?
because they're being lied to, they're being consistently sold to, and also it can be a really toxic, yucky place to be. And I hear that, and some people will hear that and say, well, then let's get off social media. What I hear is, well, then who's going to bring back the heart of what social media was for? Who's going to bring back the
Yeah.
conversational, the relatable, the real shit? And that's what, like, I literally get goosebumps when I have this conversation, because that to me is the power. And it's funny, I have this conversation with my like influencery friends, and they're like, but you're doing it with mortgage brokers. And I'm like, yeah, but look at it this way. Mortgage people, you, mortgage guy, can absolutely change the trajectory of someone's life, a Gen Z, a millennial, someone who's actively using social media as their place where they're using it. They're using it for connection. So if they're going to come across people who are engaging and interesting and dynamic and talking about not just mortgages, but educating them about their financial futures, that is so powerful. And so I'm starting to see a resurgence of the bullshit free, the sort of, you pick up your phone and say, hey, this is what I'm eating for lunch today. And that's kind of rad. And I think that people are going to, my elder millennial and young Gen X demographic is definitely heading back to social media for that reason. And I think that we're at the precipice of something really cool for growing communities around our businesses and our expertise. You
It's in,
especially.
Thank you. And it's funny you say that because I know. So when we first met, listen, like I said, I was doing all this stuff and I had zero direction as to what it
Pure.
had to look like. And there were a lot of things that you said, and it's like what you said around community and giving advice and the videos, and I've kind of kept that in my brain, right? Just
Yeah.
okay,
And
how
it shows.
what value am I offering? What am I saying to people? What am I You said one thing, like people kind of have to relate to you a little bit. And I remember when you first said that, I'm like, dude, seriously? Like, I'm a middle-aged, half balding mortgage broker. Like, who cares? But The crazy
Other
thing is, those
middle-aged
stupid
balding
videos are the
people.
ones that everybody engages with. And I'm like, well, wait a sec. I just talked about the fate of our country on the other video. You don't like that, but everyone liked me trying to figure out I couldn't figure out my damn coffee maker. Like, what is going on? But when you say that, kind of comes back to the TikTok origins around just kind of bullshit free. Yeah, that's kind of it. I heard something just today, and it's just like it came to me, and I'm like, oh, okay, someone knows who I'm meeting with today. And someone said, anybody can do marketing.
Hmm.
Not everybody can be a creator. And I'm like, ooh.
Truth. Yep. Truth.
Ooh, I'm like, so I had some coaching calls with my team today, and I'm like, oh my God, what I heard on the radio today? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, this is true. Like, not everyone can be a creator. So, are you a creator, or are you just like ramming shit onto social media, right? And I'm like, this is pretty powerful. So, with
Totally.
that, I'm thinking, that's what we've been lied to so much,
We have
so
been lied
much,
to and sold to, right?
right?
Like and we as business owners who are trying to use social media to market our businesses have been sold to just as much as the people that we're trying to sell to, Like we've been told this sort of lie that if you just post a couple of things on social media that you're suddenly you're going to blow up and you're going to get all these leads. And a lot of my life is dedicated to explaining to people that that is not at all the case. And you also don't need to be this like prolific creator. And I think maybe it's a little bit just the personality types that wander into this industry of ours, but I definitely come across a lot of people that are like, well, I don't have time to commit to recording 10 videos per week. And I'm like, nowhere did anybody say that that's what you need to do. And well, I said to you, like, you're doing too much. You're
Yeah,
spending too much time. You just got to
yeah,
like bring it back to basics and do the things that people are going to engage with and the things that are going to make you relatable. And that's enough. And I never want anybody to do something on social that feels bad. Like there's a fine line between pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone and then doing something that's not natural. And so not trying so damn hard is like kind of been our motto this year. Don't try to do something
yeah.
that's not authentic to you because people are smart. People can see through that. They're going to go to someone who would rather be self-deprecating and funny about how they can't work their coffee maker.
Yeah, yeah, it's true. And it's when I first met, I remember my request was I need more engagement. I just need more
Yeah.
engagement. And here's what I found. I found we're kind of more focused on the content part and kind of being real and original and all that other stuff. And I have found, I don't know if it's just me, but lately people are actually saying, like when we're talking about rates, when I'm going to make a recommendation on a rate, they're like, well, I heard you say on Instagram, like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, you people listen to this crap. All right, cool. Now, did anyone like it? No. It was the usual. One guy from my team, one realtor who loves my that was it. But
Mm-hmm.
wait, you heard that? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm hearing this and I'm like, okay, so maybe it doesn't matter how many times people hit this, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's more, okay, people actually are kind of listening a little bit. And I think
Totally.
it's got to be consistent.
It's got to be
That's the
consistent.
hardest part,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, 100%. And finding the time, it's funny, like I do not practice what I preach at all, mostly because, I'm owning a business is hard and takes a lot of time and energy. I don't know if you know this.
With family
But
and kids and all that other stuff,
kids,
right? So
Lord, kids in this
yeah, I know.
house, you should, but I think that people think that consistency means that it needs to be every single day. It doesn't need to be. What needs to be consistent is the person you show up as and the story that you tell. And if you're trying to be somebody that you're not, if you're putting on this facade, if you're like creating this kind of bullshit story of who you are, then that's going to be impossible to keep up because you're lying. And you see a lot of that too, like a lot of the not as much lately, but you see a lot of like over curated. They're trying to like create this character. They're trying to pigeonhole themselves as as an archetype so that they get more views. And that only works for a little while. And then people start to see
Yeah,
through, and then it just becomes it works for engagement often because it becomes rage baiting and people post a lot of comments because they just want to tell you how stupid you are, which again, can be valuable and powerful. But at the end of the day, like you say, people are watching. People are watching. People are taking it in. Yeah, it's great if they like, share, whatever. But if they're learning something, at the end of the day, that's the important part, right? And sometimes it can take a long time too. Like results are never overnight. I just had a client who I've been working with for a year land their first big new client through social media. And they're, you know, they work
Yeah.
with very high net worth, very wealthy people in not mortgages. And it was
No,
very
we don't work with
validating
those
to
people
me.
on mortgages. They need money. They don't have money.
Exactly. But it was cool to finally hear like, oh, look, it's working. And this person who came to them said, I've been watching your videos for months now. And we never saw any engagement. We never saw their name showing up because people don't give their likes away for free no more. It's like
Yeah.
you gotta really earn that shit. But if people are watching and you're educating one person, then that's just what you gotta remember while you're recording, right? While you're making a video and it feels stupid and you're talking into your phone, if you're like, hey, one person could watch this and make a better decision for their finances because of it, then it's worth making it. And if you're doing it
Yeah.
from that place of authenticity, you'll grow eventually.
I think too, there's what I found was, and I was trying to figure out process because, like I told you, I've got a background in audit and project management, like just process. I like to build processes with everything, and I know when I was doing it, it was the first little while it was kind of fumbling around because you showed me about Canva and how to do the background and the title and all that other stuff, right? I'm like, man, it's a lot, but now I'm quick. It's fast. I've got a routine. I actually did a video on this where I did a video on my videos about
That's how it's
just
done. Work
getting
smarter, not
into
harder.
yeah, and that's what it comes down to. And I find times to, do the screenshot and do this and do that and it just it gets easy. I mean, if there's any advice I need to give people out there, if you're trying to get on this whole social media bandwagon thing, it's like it gets easy, but you gotta like just get into that routine. I was listening to a realtor on TikTok. I'll throw a shout out because you got to check out her channel. It's a little bit different, but it's cool. She puts up some good stuff. Her name is Madeline Towns, I think,
Oh,
realtor out
I
of
love
Toronto or
Madeline Townsend. She's in Hamilton and I love her
Okay, you
so
know who I'm
much.
talking about. See? So there you go. So she said one thing there on her recent video around social media just new agents think I'm going to put out a video, I'm going to go viral, and boom, I'm a success. Not
Mm-hmm.
how it works. She goes, you got to like,
Mm-mm.
it's got to be a year, 2 years. Like it takes time to build that up. And I'm like, damn, she's right. That's
Mm-hmm.
exactly correct. Right? Do you see that as
100%.
well?
100% because it's not about building a marketing campaign, you know? And I'm in a lot of these like Facebook groups for like women in marketing. And it's funny because I don't really see myself, I don't say out loud that I'm in marketing because to me, that's not what it's about. Because marketing is I'm going to buy ad space and people will see my billboard and they will come buy from me. That's not what social media is. Social media is about
Yeah.
building a community of which you are the mayor, right? So you are actively putting yourself out there, your expertise, your knowledge, but also your heart and your personality because the goal isn't I mean the ultimate goal is to have business come obviously, but the goal, the base core goal is not to sell shit. It's to get people to trust you. And it's real hard to get people to trust you if all you're ever doing is posting stuff that's just to sell to them, you know? Like, because like I said at the beginning, like people are smarter than that now. They don't want to be sold to. They want to have someone that they know they can trust. Especially right now, I was just writing a post yesterday about trying to write a not so sarcastic or mouthy piece about how rate shopping between brokers is a shitty thing to do and why it's a shitty thing to do. But that's just the reality of the
Yeah.
beast right now, right? Like I hear from my clients and friends like every day, like, you know, they're losing clients left, right, and center because they're rate shopping between brokers or they're getting the best rate from their broker and then they're going back to their bank. But 99.999% of the time, if you have made the effort, even before you meet that person, right? Even if you're just actively posting on social, you're posting about your coffee maker, you're posting about your pile of laundry that you're folding on the weekends, you're posting about mortgage stuff, you're posting about things that will change people's lives, they're going to be watching from the wings. And if they become a client, you've already built that foundation of trust to the point where they're not going to want to stab you in the back and go to RBC and get the same rate copied and pasted. They're going to want to continue to work with you because they feel like they've gotten to know you. And that's where I position Instagram like your website, but also kind of like your your first date, your first coffee date, right? Like if you've done a really good job at curating your sort of community persona on there, somebody's going to be able to come. Like you've done an excellent job even before me. You've done a really excellent job at, like, if you come to your page and watch a couple of videos and read a couple of static posts, it's pretty obvious who you are as a person. And that's already started to build a level of trust that you can't build with a billboard, with traditional marketing. And so, yeah, it takes a long time, but building any relationship takes time, right? And if you can start before they're a client, then that's going to bode a lot better for you in the long run, especially in this environment.
Would you say that, just had a thought when you were saying that, would you say that maybe as someone, so someone who is checking out social media, right? One of your clients, me, whatever, do you think that maybe, and it's a good thing what I'm about to ask, do you think it's a good thing where, or it happens where they look at me and they're like, man, you know what? I'm not going to that guy because I'm a rate shopper and it sounds like he's not gonna take
Mm-hmm.
any shit. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and that's not a bad thing. Like
Mm-mm.
it's not a bad thing, right? Do you
No.
think that happens? They look at it and they're like, oh, this guy looks new. I'm gonna go bug him to see if I can drag him down on a rate. Like, do you think that happens?
Oh, totally. Yeah, I think it happens for sure. And I also think, like, this is again another really common conversation that I have often with people, because when I say, be really authentic to your personality, whatever that looks like for you. Like, I am not afraid to make a silly Taylor Swift reel. I'm not afraid to talk a little shit. I'm not afraid to drop a little F bomb. And I've had this conversation with mostly dudes who are older than me about how, professionalism is a social construct. We don't need to wear a navy blue blazer to be taken seriously professionally. And I show up to meetings with blue blazer men often wearing my jammies to prove a point, because I am really good at what I do, and it doesn't really matter what I'm wearing. But I've had people say, well, if I'm showing up and I'm making videos in my garage, or if I'm showing up and making videos and I look like shit, or if I swear, or if I don't sound curated, or if I'm not editing it perfectly, like, those like motivational crypto bros, then nobody's going to take me
Yeah.
seriously, or I'm going to alienate an audience. And to that, I say goodbye to that audience, because in alienating an audience that you're not going to gel with anyway, you're going to make more room and build more trust with your intended target audience, right? Like, I don't want to work with people who think that I'm not good at my job because I don't wear blazers I own a lot of blazers. I just work from home, so I don't wear them. But I don't want to work with people who don't think I'm good at my job because I talk like a trucker, and so if
Yeah.
I'm alienating people in that, great. I don't want to work with people, like, if, say, I was a newbie mortgage broker. Obviously, I'm not going to say I don't know shit, but I'm going to be honest about that and my growth and what I'm learning as I'm working with clients, because I don't want to work with someone who's going to come in and treat me like shit because I am in the earlier stages of my career. I want to work with people who are, young, starting in their lives, getting their first home, a little scared, because we will understand each other. And that's the people you want to attract. So I think it's actually a great thing if people come across you and say, I'm going to on to the next, because that makes more space for the people who you should work with. And those are the ones that end
Yeah.
up making money.
Yeah, and that's tough though. That's tough. So I mean, you know I've got new agents working with me right now, and
Mm-hmm.
that's tough. That's tough to wrap your brain around. I want to
Yeah, no.
work with the people I want to work with. Now, I'm at that point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
It's a
I'm,
privilege.
I guess the one big fault, not a fault, but the one thing with me is I couldn't hide an emotion to save my life. Like I just couldn't. You want to know what I'm thinking? Look at me. I don't have to talk anything, right?
I have
Like I
learned
remember when I
this
used to
of
coach
you.
volleyball. Yeah, well, when I used to coach volleyball, I used to have like the kids were like, we don't have to ask him. Just look at him. He's pissed. He's happy. We won. We lost. He doesn't have to talk very much, right? So,
It's resting
but I
bitch
think
face.
when you yeah, oh yeah, I had that comment made a few times by a couple of parents, but you know what? Screw them. So, it gets to the point where you got to decide what you want, who and what you want to work with. Listen, have I talked to clients and I have actually a couple of times I've said, look, great person. I think you're really good. See if we can find someone else for you. I don't think this is
Mm-hmm.
going to work. Not a big deal. It's not a bad
Yep,
thing. This is not a love connection, right?
totally.
But that's tough when you're new because especially on
Yeah.
social media, it's like, who do I want to come across as, right? And new
Mm-hmm.
guys, that's tough. You
It
said something
is.
really good there where talk about your journey. Like what do you do, and what's new, what are you learning, whatever. You don't have to say I'm new. Hey, I came across this new program the other day. We all
Hmm.
know you're new. We can see you're new, all right?
Yeah,
But
totally. Yeah.
what advice do you have for people who are new?
Get over it. I think I totally
Right?
understand, and I'm very much. I have been the same, and like before this conversation, I was nervous and freaking out, and I'm not new at all. But I think that it's so easy to care so much, and I know that like for mortgage brokers right now, like that this shit is hard out there, man. Like I understand wanting to say yes to every file, but the conversations I have with my friends and my peers and my clients every day, oh, I had 4 deals fall apart last week. And I'm like, yeah, and what kind of relationship did you have with those people? Were those people your ideal demographic? Were they the people that you find it really easy to build trust with? And almost 100% of the time, the answer to that question is no. They were not my dream. They were the people that I was taking because I need the money right now. And you've heard this before. I'm sure we've had this conversation. Like if you're out doing the thing to make money, then the money is going to be hard come by. But if you're out doing the thing because you love it and because you want to make a difference, the money is going to come naturally. And I know I'm like, I call myself like a mid-level woo-woo. Like I'm not like a, manifest your dreams full scale person. But I
Yeah.
definitely believe that if you're out there trying to like, you're desperately clamoring over yourself to try to get every deal that you can, people can see that, and you're going to end up with the dregs that are not going to vibe with you. But I saw something a while ago. I read something in one of these like motivational books that was like, if people like you, they'll connect with you or chat with you, but if they trust you, they'll buy from you. The best way to build trust with somebody is to bare your soul. Show who you are as a person, and so that they can find something that they relate to. And if you don't have that with someone, that relationship is not it's not going to go the way you want. Doesn't matter if it's romance or mortgages, whatever relationship it is. If you can't build trust with somebody, then they're not going to follow through. They're going to rate shop your ass and they're going to go to the bank.
I struggle with that part, that bearing your soul part, because we live in a world right now where it's very easy to offend, very easy. And I've said this on social media and podcasts before, where I have an issue because I sometimes got to ask my wife, was that funny? Like, I thought it was funny. Was it funny? And she's got to tell me that was not appropriate. You should not have said that. Or that was funny. You can proceed, right? And not because I'm a bad guy, but because I don't know what offends people anymore, right?
Yeah.
And I don't easily offend, right? But
Mm-hmm.
that's a tough skill to kind of capture, right? And it's like, okay,
Yeah.
how far can I go? How far can I not go? Do you see that with some of your clients where it's like, whoa, got to reel that in, or please give us more? Like, how do you
Um,
draw the line or get a balance?
yeah, that's a great question. That's a great question. I think same thing applies here. You kind of got to not care. Um, but you also you'll be able to tell. Like you don't necessarily need to use your wife as a barometer, because if you post something and it's not funny, you'll know. The comments will tell you. And then there's also a little tool called rage baiting, which I do not condone. Let it be known here, I do not think this is a good thing to do. But there's videos where people will say things that they know are inflammatory, that are going to piss people off, so that they can get a bunch of comments. And that's easy to do in the mortgage world, right? Because if you say
And that happens a
something
lot.
about
Does that happen a
oh,
lot right now?
constantly, anytime a broker goes out
Yeah.
there and tries to talk about like yeah, reverse mortgage, for example, and how this is a good tool to like
Right.
make your retirement go further, or refinancing to do an equity takeout to consolidate debt, people will always come into you in the comments saying you're a piece of shit. That's just what it is. It doesn't matter how founded in fact it is. It doesn't matter how much of an expert you are. It doesn't matter how long you've been doing it. Someone will always come into the comments and tell you suck. And in some cases, it's because you suck. In most cases, it's because people feel crappy right now. People are broke. People are scared. People can't just, I bought a bundle of asparagus the other day that was $9. So if I was someone that was struggling to pay
Yes.
rent, I would not want to see somebody on the internet talking to me about how I can consolidate my debt into my mortgage, because to me, I would see someone's trying to sell me something. And so people are offended by that easy of stuff. You know what I mean? But I think if you could be funny and sarcastic, and there's a certain brand of funny that people are drawn to, particularly the kind that calls out the powers that be. Yeah, you're gonna offend people for sure. But I think there's a line between saying something that's going to offend people financially, or it's going to make people go ew, and something that's going to hurt a specific group of people. You know what I mean? Like, we're not going to say things that could be construed as bigoted or elitist. But most, like, I don't know people in my world. I don't have a single client or friend who would do that because they don't believe those things. Because, I've surrounded myself with like-minded people mostly. But like this about me. I'm a pretty liberal person, and I'm not afraid of posting my like political views on my social media. They offend people. For sure they offend people, but I don't want the people that are going to be offended by that around me. You know what I mean? So, and then I'll give you an example of, I let my kids swear. My 6-year-old and my 2.5-year-old, I don't care if they say shit, fuck, ass. I don't care. As long as they're not saying it at someone and they're not calling somebody a shit, fuck, ass, then I'm fine with it. But if they stub their toe and they say son of a bitch, I'm fine with that. I don't care inside these four walls. But they're not allowed to say slurs, words that are designed to hurt a specific group of people. So I think, getting offended happens. People are very easily offended. There's no nuance. Nuance has ceased to exist in the real world, especially on the internet. So you're going to get it. But yeah, I think if your intention is not to hurt someone, then say it. Because 99% of the time it's going to be funny to somebody. And it's worth.
That's it.
We love a little spicy humor.
Yeah, I think it's such a it's so simple, but it's not sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, I think what you say is really true. Like, are you hurting somebody, right? And I've seen people
with malice
online just like cross the line. Like, there's funny and then there's not. And again, we've said this already a few times, but it's just like, dude, like that. Not only is that over, like, it's not appropriate, but it's also like your brand. It's your brand.
Exactly.
Right. And there, I know we always say there's good press, bad press, as long as they're talking. Yeah, but to a point. Like, you don't want them talking about, oh my God, that guy. Holy, I don't want anything to do with that guy. Like, you don't want that at all, And,
totally. Yeah, exactly. There's alienating, and then there's making yourself look stupid, which is a thing that people do a lot. And cancel culture, I hate the phrase cancel culture. I think it is thrown around way too easily, but people do get canceled, right? The internet is savage. So if you slip up and say something, or if you come out to guns blazing about mortgage stuff, because like I say, people are very sensitive about their money, then you could cook yourself. So you got to be somewhat careful. But like I say, unless you're hurting someone, and there are people that I won't name who make their entire personality on the internet being loud and angry, and sometimes wrong. And that's how they've gotten clout. But those people, that will only last so long. When your entire platform is built on, people are not stupid.
Yeah, people see through it, right?
People, and you start to hear it, those people come up a lot more in conversations lately in a less than positive way. Because people don't like being told they're stupid for the most part. Try to avoid that.
Well, and that's the hurt part though. Yeah, exactly. And that's the hurt part, right? Like, and I think back to, like, okay, so I would say the most controversial, maybe I'm limited in how much TikTok I'm watching, but I only go to the bathroom 3 times a day. You know what I mean? There's only so much TikTok I can watch in a day. Okay,
but you're a dad, so it's at least 45 minutes to an hour every time.
That's right. If the girls in the house can shower for an hour, I can be in there for 45. Leave me alone. But I mean, someone like and again, I'm going to bring up her name again because it's someone who clearly TikTok is selling to me with her stuff. But
she's also brilliant
stuff, and it's like, it's not. How do I put it? It's not It's not mean. It's not. It's to the point. It's transparent. It's calling people out, but not, in my humble opinion, not in a bad way. It's like a
No.
girl's right. She's right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Yep,
She's right. She's right.
totally.
Yeah. So, and some of the things she says about and I actually use this. I can't say anymore because otherwise she's gonna start calling me looking for royalties on the crap she says. But
No,
I've used
she
this
loves
line
it.
with my team, with my team where I remember in one video she did. She said, "Mortgage brokers, you need to do better. Stop
Yep,
calling me. I'm
that.
yeah, I'm not coming out for coffee. Stop. Just do
I
better."
duetted that video actually. You can go see my duet of it.
Oh, did you?
Oh yeah.
Nice. It was
Uh, eh,
perfect. It was dead on. I told them, I said, guys, I said, don't call a freaking realtor unless you got something. Call them
mhm.
with something. Don't call them with nothing. Call them with
Well,
something because you are one of 10 that called that person today.
this is a
Right?
great segue too, and we're talking about like new people on your team and new people, and I'm actually like flabbergasted by how many people are choosing to come into this industry right now. It's why.
No kidding. Jesus.
Welcome to the jungle. But I see people in these like newbie Facebook groups being like, I'm cold calling all these realtors. Stop doing that. This is a call out. Stop doing that. Don't cold call people because why in the age of Beyonce's internet, why would you be cold calling people? Because then you have people who are out there putting themselves out there, hustling their asses to show basically make a there was a trend a while ago. It was like a 30-second trailer of my life, and you put a bunch of clips of your stuff together to like this like really universal sound. Um, and that's what your social media should be. It should be a trailer of who you are as a person, because then you don't need to cold call people, right? You're gonna have if you're creating content in the mortgage and real estate space, you're naturally going to have realtors who see your content because the algorithm knows what it's doing, right? And if they see you out there making jokes about your coffee maker not working, if they see you out there being, political in whatever way you're going to be political, if they see you, this is obviously close to home one for me, but if you're a mom and you're sharing how hard it is to be out here doing all this shit while you got 2 kids running around and you're trying to grow your business, a lot of realtors are in that same position. So if you as a mortgage broker are sharing your side of that, they're going to see you and connect with you. And that specific group is a very trendy one right now on social media. So is dad life. Dad life is a big thing because that's a huge connection point for people, right? But they're going to start following you and they're going to start seeing not only your life content, but your business content. And then they're going to go, oh, that person knows what they're talking about. That is way more valuable than cold calling. Because when you're cold calling, what do you have to offer them?
Yeah.
What do you have?
Coffee.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Cool.
No.
Nobody wants to go for coffee anymore. It's too expensive.
Yeah. Right. Right. Forget lunch. Not even coffee. That's it. You're not getting anything. Right. Like.
No. You're having a tea at home with your jammy pants on, having a conversation in Instagram DMs with someone about like how hard it is to run a business as a dad, and that is way, way, way more valuable. And if you're going to be spending hours calling hundreds of realtors a day, spend that time doing something that's going to grow your community. And I'm always going to go back to that word of community. Cold calling people is not a community tool.
So true. So
Also,
true.
how do you even cold call people? Do people even list their phone numbers?
It's hard, man, but don't worry. We're mortgage brokers. We find everything. No problem. We'll find it somehow. Don't worry. We'll find it.
Find your info, find your social insurance number.
That's all right. Yeah, it's and like you said, man, I would not want to start today. I tell these guys, I'm like, man, I don't know how you guys do. I would not be a mortgage broker brand new starting today. Forget it. It's just
No,
a
it's brave.
grind. But we had a
But
conversation.
hella respect to the people that do.
Oh yeah, I know. I don't, and I've heard something from all 3 of them. All 3 of them are new on my team, and I've heard the same thing, almost at the same kind of similar time, and they were like, "Now what?
Yeah,
Now
totally.
what? I've done all this work. I've done the social media. I've done. Now what? I might have."
Yeah.
And that's where the put pants on and leave your house now comes in. So if you built some social media clout, go. Now
Use
people
it.
should start to maybe recognize you a little bit, right?
Yeah,
So
use it.
it's. But having said that, I will come to their defense in a little bit, where back in the day, back in the day, we had more events and
Totally.
less social media, more
Mm-hmm.
in person,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now
Yeah.
it is the emphasis on the social media part, and that has to be spectacular. And
Yeah.
so it is a little bit different, right?
Completely
So
different, and it is way harder, and because like we've said, like people are so much more discerning now. Like it used to be that you could be at a party and tell someone, hey, I'm a mortgage broker. That was enough, you were going to get referrals out of that. But now, because
yeah.
people are so much more discerning, they're so much more particular, and because there's so much more available, they're gonna grind you through it. So if you can say, well, I'm a mortgage broker, check me out on TikTok, check me out on Instagram, and they can kind of get to know you that way. You can also cold call through social media. You can send
Yep.
DMs, you can start reaching out to people, you can start, there used to be back in the day when I was coming up on the old gram, there was this rule that you comment on 10 people's posts 10 times a day. So you just like
What?
scroll, and anybody who's like your target demographic or anybody who's in like a similar industry, you comment. And it used to be you could just comment like heart, 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 star, star, star. Now the rule still kind of applies, not necessarily to that same extent, but you want to show the algorithm, whether it's Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever. You want to show the robots in charge that you are an active member of that community, right? And so if you are watching through content, if you're scrolling through reels while you're taking your morning poo poo, and you see something that activates something in you, tell that creator, say, wow, this is a really great point. Or if it's another mortgage broker and they're talking about a situation that they've dealt with, like a client story, you can say, oh wow, this totally reminds me of this one time that X. So that does two things. It tells the robot you are an active member of that community and you're engaging with people other than people you're trying to sell to. But it also then means anybody who's watching that person's video, everybody goes to the comments, right? That's the first thing you do when you're watching a video. You go to the comments and see how people are engaging. But if somebody's posted a video,
It's true. I never even thought about that. That's where the entertainment actually is. I didn't even
100%.
realize that. Good point. Yeah.
100%, especially when people are being shitty, like if you see one of
Yeah.
those rage baity creators who just kind of yell it into their camera, the comments are lit. And so if you're throwing your
Yeah.
2 cents in there and saying, hey, this is why what you said is fucked or wrong,
Yeah.
a little bit, I personally, my husband and I were talking about this last night. I've had to withdraw myself from commenting actively on my like personal mommy blogger account, which is now private. I don't do that anymore. But when I see something where someone's being stupid, offensive, where it's triggering me as a liberal snowflake, I've had to stop myself from commenting now because it just is not good for my heart to comment. But when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to mortgages and real estate and finance and stuff where there's like objective truths and objective untruths, and you are the expert, if somebody's saying something that's inflammatory or outright false, or if there's a better way to do it, if they're on there saying, your mortgage broker should never be telling you to do this because this is wrong and you'll be up shit creek without a paddle, but that that's false. I'll use, the Smith maneuver example. I see a lot. I am a stand for the Smith maneuver. I am a stand for all of that. Anything that can help people like me not be broke when we're old is a great tool in my eyes. But that is inflammatory shit, right? Like that is, people are triggered because A, they think it sounds too good to be true. B, somebody always knows somebody that's had a bad experience doing something similar. And so whether you're posting a video to be inflammatory or you're simply posting a video about your expertise, you're going to have somebody in the comments saying you're dumb. Well, the best thing you can do, whether it's your video or not, the best thing that you can do is somebody comes into the comments and says, you're stupid, this is wrong, this is why, is not to delete that comment. It's to engage back with it and say, no, here's why I'm correct. Best if it's on your video, if somebody's coming for you, 100% of the time respond. But if you see another creator making a video and someone comments on their video, perhaps one of those angry people that we know on the internet comments on their video and says
Yeah.
you're dumb, slide back into those comments and say, actually, sir, and come to that other broker's defense, because yes, that person is your competition, fine. But first of all, there's enough business for all of us. And also, all
Yeah.
you're doing is hyping up the whole community when you put forth your expertise and become engaged in that way. So at least one of those poops every day, make sure you're spending time engaging with other people.
I'll have to go 4 times now. I need to open up some space there, literally. Literally. But it's interesting that it actually will know that you're
Oh yeah.
commenting on someone else in your industry.
Oh yeah.
Interesting. creepy as hell, but that
Oh, we
is
love it.
really interesting. It's
That's why you get
nuts.
such good
So,
Instagram ads, because they know what you want. And I buy the shit that Instagram tells me to buy because it's right.
I know. It's oh no, I know. It's so bad. Isn't that bad? That is so bad. Like
Is it
hook,
bad
line, and
though?
sinker.
Is it bad or do we love it?
Well,
I love it.
uh,
I am not a privacy
that's a good
girly.
question.
I'm not a privacy. I don't
You are?
care. No, I don't care. Like, we won't get too deep into the TikTok politics because that's polarizing. But
Yeah, that's
I hear from a lot of clients, I'm not going on TikTok because the Chinese government shouldn't have my information. And I'm like, first of all, if the Chinese government wants my scrolling behavior, they can have it. They're not going to earn anything from it. Also,
yeah.
they already have it. Every government in the world
Yeah.
already has your information if they want it. Like, that's silly. If you've ever used a credit card to buy something on the internet, they got your information, girl. But also, 99% of it is just harmless, right? It's just marketing. It's just another tool. I think there's so much fear and so much extremism in our beliefs around this stuff. And at the end of the day, is there some security issue? Maybe. The occasional data leak happens, and don't use Ashley Madison to find a
My
mistress.
mind went right there as soon as you said security breach. I went right there. Isn't that sad? Oh my god. Did you
Well,
see the
the
special on
documentary
Netflix?
just came
It
out.
was okay, but
It wasn't
yeah.
that good.
Yeah. Don't watch it with your husband. It's not a good couples movie.
He was really sick because he knows I live for that shit, right? Like, I love it all because I think the internet is wild. And he was really sick the other day and slept in the basement. And he's like, I watched that Ashley Madison documentary without you. And I was like, honey, if you can find time to use the internet to find a mistress between all the other things, then go for it. Have at her. You will not find the time. Find the time to mop the damn floors and then tell me you found time to find a mistress. But yeah, stuff like
It's
that.
funny you say that. My wife and I had a similar conversation. She goes, we were talking about it because I did stupid. I watched the movie with her. Dumb, 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 dumb. Lesson learned, not doing that again.
She's like
So she's
smacking
like,
you the whole time.
well, yeah. She's like, would you do that? I'm like, sweetheart, explain to me when I have time to do this. I said, have I ever, other than me going on a volleyball trip, have I ever not been here? I don't have time, dude. I am way too busy to deal with that. I mean, I love you, but I'm just saying, I ain't got the time, man.
Yeah,
Like,
I
seriously.
know. Like, even if I wanted
Like,
to, I couldn't. I would have to quit my job. Finding a lover, extramarital lover, would be my full-time job, and that, ew, gross. I'm too tired, man. You know how much time it
enough
took me
time
to put
managing my
this
own
much makeup
relationships. I
on
don't need
today?
another one.
No,
What's
no,
that?
no, no, no. I said, you know how much time it took me to put makeup on today? I'm not doing that for some man on the internet. Hell no. Well, I guess I technically I did it for a man on the internet today. I put my face on.
You did, and I appreciate it, by the way. And just so you know, I put on a shirt with a collar and buttons. I'm
Oh,
just saying. I'm
what
just
a
saying.
stud. What a stud. What a stud. I could have used
You heard it here first, folks.
Next time I want eyeliner and a rouge.
Oh man, that's a different podcast altogether. So yeah, so on the private, it's funny, the privacy and the security part. It's
Yeah.
you said something there around the privacy. For me, I was trying to think. For me, it's not the privacy, it's the
No.
security. Because I actually
Yes.
said that before, where it's like, dude, you can Google me and find whatever you want. Like, so
Yeah.
it's out there. But
Yeah.
it's more. I'm always worried about what if I'm broken into, like my security,
Yeah.
like that sort of thing, identity
Mhm.
takeover, and so we lock shit down like big time
That's
as
the
much as we
thing.
can. I think
Yeah.
that's probably more of it, and then they're listening. I'm sure they're listening, whether they like it or not. I know they're listening, but
Yeah.
it's more the security, not the privacy. If I can draw that line, right?
Yeah, no, and I totally agree with you. And like, I've had some experiences where I wasn't like the smartest with my online kind of presence and one time I had full on death threats. Somehow this woman I had beefed with, she said this is when I was an influencer. I had done a partnership with I was super pregnant, and I had done a partnership with a baby carrier company in Ontario, and she was a Black female business owner, and she also a dear friend, and I did this campaign and was an influencer for her. And then this girl who I guess had a negative experience with the company came into my DMs and said some really awful things, the kind of things that you say only when you're meaning to hurt a specific group of people if you pick up what I'm putting down. And I, being me, responded in kind, which, I mean, you know how I can respond if you say something that makes me angry, that you hurt one of my friends, and she somehow now I've learned since how she did, but she found my home address, and right away was coming out with like she was going to send people to my house and hurt my kids, and was sending me screenshots of other things like in my past that she had found on the internet, and it was like it was relatively harmless stuff, like stuff when I like things that I did in university, like clubs and stuff. But the fact was, is she like found my whole digital footprint and my home address. And that was really scary. And I was very pregnant, and that made it even scarier. And that was pretty much when I decided to shut down my mommy influencing side of things. But also I know that the things that I had done there were my mistake. When my past life as a jeweler, I was using my home address as an address to run my website, which was stupid. I don't do that anymore. So you can do easy things, like you can use get one of those UPS store fake addresses. Use that for your website or your office, obviously, if you have one. But even that, sometimes you could just use the fake one. Always, 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 every single platform you want to do two-factor authentication. I like to use like a Google Authenticator app. It makes it annoying to log into things, but always lock shit down. Always lock everything down, because it also, if you start to get a bunch of followers, people will steal your platform, which is also not good, right? But also bear in mind, most of the people who are getting their identities stolen and getting things stolen via social media are not Joe Blow mortgage broker with, under 10,000 followers. If it's any consolation to the stress. And I think I understand the security fear. I totally do. Because I say I've had it happen, but the chances of it happening, the likelihood is so small, that I think it's worth taking the risk, as long as it's an intelligent risk and you're doing all the things that you can to protect yourself.
Yeah, I have a background in fraud detection and compliance
You have a
and stuff
background in
like
a lot
that.
of things.
I know. Yes.
You're old.
It depends whatever personality's coming out today. We'll see, right? We'll see how your mortgage application is going to go. It'll end up at the RCMP, or you'll get approved. We don't know yet. We'll see. But it's even like passwords. Like
Yeah.
my wife is pissed when she's got to log into Disney Plus, and
Oh,
it's
the worst.
25 numbers with characters and numbers and capitals and smalls. But I have a password manager for that. So, but I just do it with everything, right or wrong. Because here's the reality: my credit card information in there, my date of birth is in there. It's just, it's secure. I think that's more for me. It's
I
more
think
security
that
than
something that people don't use enough of is like a password manager. I should have a sponsored relationship with LastPass, because if people aren't using LastPass or Zoho passwords or any of those apps, I pretty much once every 2 weeks, I regenerate all of my most active passwords. They're all those like crazy upside down question mark ones that they generate for you, because I learned my lesson, and also because, my accounts are now they're associated with lots of people's because of what I do for a living. And so I got to make sure that stuff is locked down hard. And I think that should just be, whether you're on social media professionally or whether you're simply using the internet to shop, everything should be locked down, and you should always use a password manager, and do not use a password that has your kid's name or your birthday in it. For the love of Pete.
So so critical. It's so simple, right? But so critical, right?
You'd think.
But here's a question for you. Exactly.
Big
So
but.
here's a question for you. And I'm always asked this, especially new agents in general. I'm talking to realtors who are really into the social media space and stuff. And can you be on social media as a broker, a realtor, or whatever, and actually get leads? Can you sit at home, just jack up your social media, never leave, and bring in mortgages? Is that a thing?
Yeah,
Tell me
it
about
is. Yeah, 100% it is. It's hard to do, because there's sort of two funnels of social media, active social media, as a mortgage broker specifically first. The first is referral partners, right? So like every realtor, the first thing they do when they get their real estate license is to get an Instagram account, because they have a very Instagrammable profession. It's very easy to make good real estate Instagram. Well, basic good Instagram. And so if you are creating content knowing that you want to connect with referral partners, that's how you're going to grow the fastest, right? Because when you make a new referral partner relationship via social media, it's not going to get you one deal. It could potentially get you like a career's length of deals. It could get you a solid partnership, especially if you're sort of hitting up newer realtors. There's a lot of realtors, right? And if you're growing those like really foundational relationships based on shit that you really have in common, they're always going to come back to you. So that's like a lot of people have said to me, like, they don't want to have these, they don't want to burn their tires on these referral partnerships, and that's fine. But that is the easiest way to grow really fast. Even if, I always say, and I've said this to you, with every piece of content that you're creating, make sure you know the audience that it's intended for, and speak directly to them, whether outright or sort of more subliminally. But always assume that, so if I'm making a reel, for example, and I'm speaking to, elder millennial first-time home buyers who aren't getting money from mom and dad, yes, I'm talking to them, but I'm also talking to their potential realtor, because that's going to be the person that I'm going to probably have more of a relationship with at the end of the day than the client themselves. And so you want to actively always be thinking about, though, and not even just realtors, but like anybody who could be a referral source for you. When it comes to actually getting like leads, like I saw your reel on Instagram and now I want to get my mortgage with you, that can be a little bit harder because you have to build a little bit of a more solid foundation of trust. And also, people don't generally just go to Instagram and search mortgage broker yet. They're starting to. TikTok is more of a search engine, but even so, the likelihood is higher that they're going to get a referral. But if you're spending more time, and I'm always going to go back to this, actively engaging, actively creating things of value, telling your audience, no matter how big or small, that you're thinking of them, you care about them, you want to show them behind the curtain, you want to show them what your day looks like, then you're going to be front of mind when the time comes to get a mortgage. And so there's definitely people on there, like I don't know if you know Sam Power. She's out there. She's
Yes.
yeah. So she almost 100%, 100% B2C business off of social media. But because she is on there every day, but she's not over the top about it, right? Like, she doesn't do these like crazy curated videos. She sits at her desk with her cup of Tim Hortons and rants, and people love it. And she's brilliant. So once you've grown a community, then yeah, totally. You could never leave your office again. You don't have to go out for any coffee, ever. And a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't. And I've had clients grow past the point of, they stop their lead gen sources, like, their Rate Hub, Borrowwell, those kinds of places, because the referrals start to, it multiplies, right? Exponentially. You get one and then you get two. And then from those two, you get two more. But you gotta put in the work, unfortunately. Unfortunately, it is hard. And there's only so much I can do.
I mean, I think, yeah, and I think it comes down to, listen, like Samantha, she's got a brand, right? She's got a brand.
100%. But it's
she's
easy.
always in the same spot almost. Yeah, it's almost in the same spot almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
There's clients that just want to listen to her, and even I sometimes will listen to her. Sometimes I will steal that idea. I'm like, I'm doing a video on that. Why not, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell my team, there's no originality in mortgages. Like, if you need a topic, go find someone and listen and steal a topic. Like, there's no originality here, right? It's all,
or just like have a phone call with a client and then regurgitate it into a video.
Yeah, exactly. So, I hear it sometimes where, you can just make business off of social media, right? And it's like, okay, where is that happening? How does that work? Because it's not, like you said, it's a lot harder, and I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, a little fewer and far between that someone can do that. Like, am I right or wrong with that?
Yeah, you're totally right with that. And I think that there is a bit of a misconception that, like you said, you make a couple of posts and suddenly you blow up. And, you'll also see people like Sam Power, the Mortgage Wiz, Mike Ellergott. You'll see these people who are like gorgeous, got the riz coming out every pore in their body. They're so charismatic. They're so funny. And I'll have people say, well, I want, or who's that other guy, Alex McFadden, the mortgage pug. These like super
Mm.
charismatic, they're almost like performing because they just have this like big personality. And I'll have people say to me, well, I'm never going to be them. And I'm like, well, no, but why would you? They are them. They are them. And so is it a big ask to come up with your own personality? Yeah, like it's hard. It's hard to put yourself out there. And it's hard to say, this is who I am and I'm going to be that person unapologetically. But that's why those people are successful. And so unfortunately, like there's no magic sauce. There's no like something that I can say that's going to make you be the one that blows up. But consistency and authenticity, as cheesy as it sounds, are what's going to get you there. And also, like, I have clients that make money off of social media every single week. They're closing deals that they got off of Instagram every single month, and they have 1,000 followers or less because the audience that they have is really engaged. And so there's also, we have to shed this notion that you have to be this prolific influencer to make money off of social media. You just have to show up. You have to show up. You have to message people. You have to do the work. You have to be honest. You have to be willing to make mistakes and look stupid. And people will see that and respect it eventually.
I think too, it comes inadvertently. Like
Exactly.
I had one realtor say to me, he goes, I went to refer a client to you, and they asked me if it was the guy that you always see on your, because he shares my stuff, or shares it or
Mm-hmm.
likes it. I don't know, but clearly the algorithm identified the client with him with me, and they're like, "Is that the
Yeah.
guy that you're always liking stuff on social media?" He's like, "Yeah, that's him." I'm like, "Okay, so theoretically, social media works. Like that was kind of gotten like
It's the social
I
part of social
earned
media.
that from social
Mm-hmm.
media, yeah." And
Well,
when he
and
said
that's
that, I'm like,
also
"Ooh,
why
that's creepy," but it's also correct. I'm like, "Wow, that
I
works.
know.
Fair enough, right?"
Well, that's also why I said before, like when you're creating content, even if you're not actively trying to get more referral partners or grow more relationships with realtors, if you're creating content that because like realtors know so much, but they only know so much. And so if you're creating something, and this is something you and I have talked about, if you're creating something that is authentic to you, it is branded to your brand, it is recognizable, and you know that it's got high value, that you're sharing some sort of strategy or thought that a real estate agent could benefit from because their audience could benefit from it, they're going to share that to their stories. And what you can actually do too is you can share it directly to them. If you've got a realtor that you're working with or someone that you've been chatting with and say, hey, I just made this reel. I think it might be really beneficial if you want to just like store it in your back pocket next time you have a first time home buyer who has a question about whatever. And share your stuff and not say, hey, can you share this for me? But say, hey, I think this might be really beneficial to our shared audience. If you want to like save it and share it, keep it in your back pocket for later. There's also a trick that you can do where you can post your reel to your stories, but then tag referral partners that you work with in it. Because then they'll see it, they'll get notified that you shared it. And to me, that's not sales. That's you saying, hey, I created this thing and it made me think of you and your audience, so let me share this piece of content. Because you'll notice, like if you scroll through people's
That's a nice little
stories,
in. That's a nice
right?
little in. I like that.
Right.
Right?
And it's sort of like, the olden days where you would make, well, I mean, people still do this, like feature sheets. Like you
Yep.
take this to
Yep.
your, kind of like that. And you can do, you do them. You do like digital feature
Yep.
sheets for your clients with their stuff, but you can do like sort of the equivalent of that and help these especially newer realtors grow their library of information with stuff that you've created. Um, and that is super beneficial because they only know what they know and they don't know what they don't know. And if you're going to do something that's going to help them bring in business, that's going to pay back tenfold.
That's what it's all about. I mean, yeah, we tell them that all the time. It's like trying to help grow our businesses together some way, shape, or form, right?
Yeah.
And listen, I just came across, when did I have my epiphany? 6 months ago. I discovered, so, one of the guys on my team told me about inviting someone for collaboration on Instagram. I'm like, well, what's that all about? Now I'm like, my mind has been blown. I now understand. And you know what? It makes up now. It's funny because my collaborations are a little bit different now because I
Hmm.
can now talk to some of the teams I work with or realtors, say, hey man, well I do this. So I do it with the property, right? Where I do their like how much does it cost to afford? You changed it a little bit, which I loved. dreaming house. I don't know what it is, but it talks
A
about the listing.
journey to home, or dream
Journey
yourself,
to
dream
home,
it to
love it.
reality. Yeah.
You nailed it. It's good. I didn't change. I'm like, that's so much better than what I had. So had the picture, the whatever, but then I tagged them as a collaborator. Now it goes out to all
Hmm.
their people. And
Hmm.
I've told anyone who works with me, look, man, if you got something that you want to get out to my people, just add me. Like when I do these podcasts, add me and I'll fire it out. I
Hmm.
don't pay for it. As long as it's within my brand, you can have it, right?
Yeah.
Have at her. But
Yeah,
that's how
exactly.
you can kind of help the business and again to
And
the
that's
realtor who's like,
community,
oh,
right?
I'm
That's
gonna refer you to,
community.
yeah, yes, yeah, exactly. Boom. See, I listen.
Yeah, it's
Look,
almost
see,
like you do your homework.
I know it's almost like yes, yeah, it's true. Because then a client, if they say, hey, I'm gonna refer you to Steven, they're like, oh, is that the guy that just reposted the post or
Hmm.
whatever? Like, yeah, that's him.
Yeah,
Boom,
totally.
off you
And
go,
it's they
right?
recognize your face, they recognize your voice. And when they have referred to you, right? Like if their realtor refers to you, they've seen you create your content, they've seen your face, they've heard your voice, they're way less likely to go, "Oh, that's the rate you can get me. Let me just call RBC." They're more likely to stick to you because they've already gotten to know you, whether it's, however parasocial that may be, they already kind of know who you are, and they're way less likely to stab you in the back.
Yeah, yeah.
Because
I
that's
had a
what it
weird
is.
moment there. Yeah, I had a weird moment there a few months ago. So one of my agents met with a realtor, and well-known realtor, very active on social media, the whole bit. And I honestly, I meet a lot of people. It's been a lot of years I've been doing this. I've met a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people. I don't remember everybody, whatever. But he goes, I sat with the guy, and he said, tell me what you're doing, what your whole shtick is. And he goes, well, I'm on Financial Collective, and I'm with Stephen Green. He's like, who? He goes, Stephen Green. I'm like, oh, you're with Stephen. I'm like, yeah. Or he says, yeah, I am. He goes, you should lead with that next time. And
Oh,
so he told me this, and I'm like, I don't I might have. I don't remember meeting him ever. I know
Instagram.
him. I know of him. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So this is where it kind of came back to he's got good stuff, man. I like his stuff. I follow him the whole bit. Has Instagram talked to us through Instagram that I know him from there? Maybe. And I had this moment. I'm like, okay, this shit's working. It must be
Mm-hmm.
working. I don't remember meeting him. I might have, or I was presenting. He was at a presentation. I don't know, but it has been connected there somehow. And I'm like, whoa, okay,
And
didn't
that's
know that worked.
why
So
putting yourself out there always pays off. Always. If you're
yeah,
doing it from a place of authenticity, and like I said, you're not doing it because you want to hustle and make money, but you're doing it because you know that the way that you do business is actually going to help people, then that's going to show. That's going to show whether people are liking it, whether people are following you. If they see you once say something that resonates with them, that's going to stick way the hell more than a cold call or any bullshit. If they even, like, I've started to follow people that I have only seen because they've been actively commenting on so many other creators that I follow, and I've gone, well, if this person is commenting on all of this, their beliefs are aligned with mine clearly, I'm gonna go throw them a follow and connect with them. And oftentimes too, if I'm following somebody new, I'll send them a DM and be like, hey, I'm so happy I came across your stuff. Easy.
wow,
Because
yeah.
that's like, how many times, take a shot every time I say the word community.
That's you wouldn't even see me right now. I'd be under the desk. I'm flat.
It's like after 12
You know,
o'clock
it's
there. You're good. You're Gucci. Go. Get your
yeah,
Jaeger.
that's right. It's all good. No, Lacey's out west in BC, so
It's
where
coffee
she
hour for me
unfortunately has
still.
to stay sober for another hour. Another hour. Yeah, that's right. Well, it's after 11 somewhere out here, so
I have 3 minutes. 3 minutes
well, and
technically until drinking hour.
that's it. Well, and I said this before, where it's back in the day, like 6, 7 years ago, we had to pay for all this advertising. Like I remember at one point I was in that Homes Plus magazine, which was the magazines that I made a joke one time that you hoped Ethel and Frank opened up at the local Greasy Spoon. Like
Yeah, it's
that's how
like
you
free at the
marketed.
doctor's
Now
office.
you got the whole world, man. Do what you got to
Yeah.
do, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Also, good segue. So I get questions every single day. Should I be paying for Facebook ads? Or I hear horror stories. I paid $30,000 for a Facebook ads campaign, and I got nothing out of it. I love Facebook and Mark Zuckerberg, and the metaverse is totally non-toxic. And then I go and look at their social media. I look at their Facebook and their Instagram, and there's nothing there. Nothing that delineates who they are, nothing that separates them from the crowd. Sometimes there's just nothing. And that is brutal, because those ads, all like, sometimes they'll have, like, Facebook ads specifically, they'll have like a link to sign up, or they'll send, it'll be a link to your Canadian mortgage app or your whatever. Nobody is going to see nobody is going to see an ad and say, oh, who's this person I've never heard of before? I'll just click on this and give them my social insurance number to have them check my credit to run a pre-approval. Nobody's going to do that. But if you have spent time and energy putting some good content out there, it does not need to be prolific. You don't need to be Stephen Green levels, but you do need to have something. You need to have your face, you need to have your personality, you need to have your expertise centered on those platforms before you even consider putting 1 cent into an ad space. Because the first thing people are going to do is they're going to click and they're going to look at your profile. And if they see nothing, hell no, they're not going to click through. Hell no, they're not going to give you their information. I actually am not, I mean, I love a Facebook ad. I love a meta ad for certain things, but in our industry, I actually don't support it at all. I will say that till I'm blue in the face, because it's expensive and there's so many higher value things. Organic reach goes so much further. But what you can do is, like, you've made a reel and you're like, oh shit, like, this is good. This is going to help people. You throw $50 behind it and boost it, like boost the video so that it goes to a bigger audience that doesn't already follow you. Way more beneficial, especially.
Okay, so boosting definitely works then.
100%. Yeah. As long as it's good content, and don't do it with every single one, because then it gets annoying to people who actively don't want to watch your content and they keep getting your sponsored posts. But if you're doing the occasional one and you know that it's really high value, you're going to notice that you're getting more people coming into your audience. You're also probably going to get people, more naysayers, but that's fine, because more eyes are more eyes, and then they'll leave when they don't want to be there. But boosting something good that then leads people back to watching the rest of your content. And if I see a video, if I'm scrolling and I see a video of a creator, I'm like, I like her. First thing I'm going to do is going to click over to their profile and go immediate follow and watch everything. I say her. I don't, girls rule, boys drool. So I'll, like, go watch everything that they've ever made. So if you're boosting a video, make sure that you got, like, a little bit, just a couple of, like, mortgage information, encyclopedia kind of posts, a couple of videos, even if you're brand new, even if it's your first 2 weeks making content. Boost that baby just to get a couple more eyes, and then do it again in a couple weeks. And that is way the hell cheaper than spending a bunch of money on Facebook ad campaigns that you have to design from the ground up that don't get you shit, because you're nobody. In the eyes of the people who see that ad, you're nothing. They're not going to give you their SIN number, probably.
I tried it. It didn't go anywhere. Yeah, it didn't go anywhere.
No, it doesn't.
I tried it a few times. And pricey,
there's a lot,
right?
pricey.
I didn't spend a lot on it. Maybe that was the problem, I thought at the time. And I'm like, if I can do this on my own, like, why bother paying for that?
That wasn't the problem.
Yeah, it didn't make any sense.
And there's a lot, and exactly. This is not, like, you'll know,
all right,
well,
so
me.
Before this whole computer freaking blows up, I think we're going to stop the podcast now. Lacey, it has been... Are we freezing again? You
literally froze. I heard you say, so before this, and then you froze.
Jesus. Do you know how much editing I'm going to have to do for this goddamn video? Jesus. All right, listen. Before this thing blows up again, okay?
I'm sorry.
Ending it. That's it.
I angered the gods. The gods.
Listen, man. It's like you're talking about the gods. I'm talking about BC versus Ontario. I'm thinking, like, do you guys... I know you guys got your indoor plumbing, but do you have, like, high speed? Are you on dial-up? What the hell?
Oh,
right?
No, I have a fax machine, and it's pissing rain. And the second the wind blows in this town, the internet goes out. People can't drive. It is LOL. It is LOL city over here when it rains. You should see it when it snows. Full pioneer level when it snows.
I bet. All right, so if people want to get a hold of you, and listen, I would encourage you. If you're, I'm going to give you your own shameless plug here. If you're looking to get your social media shit together, as I was, highly recommend. Give Lacey a call. Lacey, how can people reach out to you? Give me all that stuff.
At the Broker Social on everything. You'll notice that I am not a good creator. I do not practice what I do not make a lot of my own content because I ain't got no time because I'm so busy teaching these guys how to do it. But I am there. I will respond to DMs. You can also,
So you completely broke up there, but
find
it's all
me on
good.
the
So I'll
internet.
just have to put that in manually as part of my editing skills. All right. See you later. We're stopping. That's it. It's done. Goodbye.